Pause up, pet pals. Welcome to Arden Moore's Four-Legged Life Show. I'm your host, Arden Moore. Now, it's time to get catty in a feline, fabulous way. That's because our special guest today has been educating us humans on how to bring out the best in our cats and kittens. Please, I want you all to give purrs to a best-selling author and founder of Cat Behavior Associates, Pam Johnson Bennett. Welcome to the show, Pam.
Hi, thank you. And I do appreciate the purrs and no hisses.
No hisses, no hisses. And later in the show, our mutual friend known as the Pet Lady, we're talking about Dana Humphrey, is going to give us the buzz on some pet trends. You know Dana, right?
I know Dana. So hi, Dana. I think that'll be a fun show. She's very fun.
Yes, she is. So let's get the show started. Pam Johnson Bennett knows cats. I'm talking with the capital C-A-T-S. And she is got some pretty good creds against her name. She is the one, yes, the one that created the cat division for the International Association of Animal Behavior Consultants. She has been on a lot of different advisory boards for cats. She's won a lot of awards. And I'm not trying to date you or me, Pam, but you've been a pioneer in the field of cat behavior, and you have saved a lot of lives. So let's not talk about years. Let's talk about how you have been doing this for a while. And you're kind of our cat mama.
Well, the thing is, I made all the mistakes in the beginning so that everyone else can look good now. So
is that now or me now?
Right. I mean, my early stuff, when I look back at some of the things I wrote and some of the advice I gave to clients when I first started out, I'm very grateful that cats are tolerant and forgiving. But there was no information out there. So
that's right.
You did the best you could.
Well, think about it. Cats have been around for zillions of years, and we really just kind of treated them like little dogs for a while. And I think it's a good time to be a cat now.
It is. We treated them either like little dogs, and people still do, or they don't even bother training them because they have that image of, well, they're not trainable and they're aloof and, they're only good for catching mice and keep them outside or in the barn. And we've come a long way, but we have so much more to do to understand and help cats so that we're really making life better for them because they deserve it. They put up with us.
Oh, heck yes. I'm laughing because this show is also airing on YouTube. And for all you nosy Nellies out there checking out my background, this is inside my backyard office called Art's Den. Come on. And in there, if you look carefully like a Where's Waldo, there is a little dog, Emma. She goes, I'm sleeping. And Casey, my safety cat, to either side of me. So I am bookended by pets. What do you think, Pam?
I think it's perfect.
Oh, perfect. Perfect. So there is so much we can talk with Pam Johnson Bennett about, but what we really want to dive in on today's show, and here's a little tip. She's coming back later on our show because she has even more things to talk about in a future episode. But let's dig into the topic of how to keep peace in a multi-cat pet household. I have 4 cats and 2 dogs. There are a lot of people that adopted during COVID, and I am betting many of you listeners have more than one cat. So, Pam, this seems to be a topic of keen interest for our listeners.
It is. There are the people who have one cat who are afraid to adopt a second cat because they've heard horror stories. And then there are people who have a multi-cat household and have lived with a lot of stress and tension and cat fighting. And they think that that's just the way it has to be. And it isn't.
Oh, good.
No matter how long you've had cats together, you can create peace. It doesn't mean their cats are going to be best friends. And in some cases, you have to set up separate communities within the household. But the one thing you can't do is continue to let them live in stress.
Let's talk about that because my stomach gets all in knots when I feel stressed. And I'm not going to share, but I'm sure kitties have they have emotions. They are just like us. They just are more better looking. But what does stress do to a cat's body, especially in a household where they don't feel like home?
Right. Well, stress is meant to be short term. Stress is meant to stimulate that fight or flight, or in cat's case, freeze too. That that feeling for survival, but it's not meant to be a constant. It's meant to get them out of danger and then go back to normal. So if cats are living in a stressful environment where they're not getting along with another cat, or they can't access the resources without being ambushed, that can affect them physically. They can end up with litter box issues in terms of, bladder problems. They can start having excessive grooming issues. There's so many things that can happen that can affect their body. Plus, it's not quality of life.
No, I don't think any 2, 3, or 4-legger deserves to be with long-term stress.
Right.
You actually updated a book you've wrote. It's called Cat versus Cat, and it's right on this topic. You want to talk a little bit about when you updated it and some things that we can share? Because I want you to sell some books too.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It got updated recently, and it is because behavior is always changing, so I tried to make it as up to date as possible. And even now it's like there's more stuff I could put in it because we're learning every day.
I love that.
But what I wanted to do was help people if you're thinking about adopting a second cat, so that you don't make the mistake of how to do the wrong introduction, you do the right introduction. And I also help you if you've already done the wrong introduction, how to go back and fix it. Yeah. I mean, I started out with that too. And also if you have cats who've been together for a long time and are now either suddenly not getting along or they never really got along. So I tried to address as many things as I possibly could in whatever could be going on in your multi-cat household. I think the most important thing, there's two things. Okay. One is don't continue with the status quo if it's not working. Means you've got to stop going down the road you're going down and have another direction. And that's hopefully where I guide you. The other thing is you have to give the cats a reason to like each other.
Yeah.
And we tend to forget that. We bring the cats in, and a lot of cases, we just do what we do with dogs. We just put them together. And of course, the cats fight and they're very stressed out. And they're never really going to like each other.
No, we've got about a 1 minute before our break. What's a good tip when you bring in a second cat to a household where the cat was king?
Well, keep in mind the resident cat now has everything all confusing. Okay. And the newcomer is basically going into hostile territory, totally unfamiliar, doesn't know anything, nothing to identify with. And there's an opponent to deal with. So imagine for both cats how scary it is.
That is a good tip. We're speaking with Pam Johnson-Bennett. Her book is called Cat versus Cat. What's your website?
catbehaviorassociates.com.
All right, everybody, write that down. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to dive into how to create some harmony in our multi-pet household with our great guest, Pam Johnson-Bennett. So sit and purr. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Arden Moore's Four-Legged Life Show. I hope you, as I am, are learning a lot about cats. They can be your BFF. That is what my pet safety cat, Casey, is to me. He is my best feline friend. And your cats in a household, as we're going to learn from Pam Johnson-Bennett, don't have to be sending each other Facebook likes or buying them gifts to each other. But is there some things we can do with more than one cat to lower that stress and make them all feel like it is a home?
Well, starting with, we think everybody has to share. As kids, we were taught sharing is very important.
Or hand-me-downs. Right? I was the youngest of the girls. I got all the hand-me-downs.
Well, sharing for cats is not necessarily a wise idea. And I'm talking about resources. They shouldn't have to share a litter box. They shouldn't have to share a food bowl or a scratching post. That's what's important for cats when they're living together, is to know that their resources are safe.
And let me just emphasize that, because you're big on this. Don't pour a big bowl of kibble in a bowl and think the two kitties are going to eat. You know, there's reasons for that. And I'm sorry. I like that there's more than one toilet in my household for my spouse and I. So talk about those two key resources.
Right. Well, that is, resources. That's what creates safety, is knowing that everything you have that you depend on for survival will be safe. So, excuse me, you don't want to have 2 cats or 3 cats sticking their heads in one food bowl, because that's what can create intimidation and competition. Cats are social animals, but they're not social eaters.
Good point.
You may have to have them separate food bowls, which I think are important anyway, because if you train a cat to a specific food bowl, then you're able to monitor how much that cat is or isn't eating, but also if that cat becomes ill or needs some kind of a special therapeutic diet, you can do that. So in some cases, it means...
well, I was thinking about, we think of celebrations like past the potatoes and the turkey at Thanksgiving, but I'm assuming cats would rather have a dinner reservation for one.
Or to know that they can eat safely and not have to worry about somebody nosing into their food. So in some cases, that means food bowls can be in the same room, but just not within swatting distance. But in other cases, it may mean separate feeding stations, for different cats in different rooms. Same thing with the litter box. You should have one more litter box than you have cats, and not lined up all in one room. They should be spread out so that one cat doesn't have to cross into another cat's area to access that resource.
Yes. I mean, when you have a full bladder and you got stress coming, that's a recipe for
Yeah, and you have an enemy maybe standing in the hallway guarding the litter box.
Yeah,
so that cat who has to go is going to find some other place to go, and it's probably not going to be a place you like.
My pillow smells different tonight.
Yes.
Well, also you talked about the food in the litter box, but we have a lot of indoor cats that don't want to be hairy pieces of furniture. So how do you wrangle a multi-cat household with interactive toys or things like that, so you don't have one trying to steal the other one, but you want to give them enrichment?
Right. Well, there's interactive play, which gets more time consuming the more cats you have. But you should
17 cats. I can't get to work.
But you have, to me, that's a perfect excuse.
Yeah.
But you want to make sure each cat gets individual play time, because cats can have specific toy preferences, play style preferences, and they want time with you.
Yeah.
So you set up the other cats with either puzzle feeders or put YouTube on with, crickets or mice or something running around.
Or Arden Moore's new YouTube channel.
Perfect.
Okay.
And a little catnip. That's the ideal. There's an ideal situation. So you give them something to do, and then you do your individual playtime with that one cat, or you play with 2 cats, but you have a toy in each hand, and you pick the cats who play cooperatively. You don't want to create competition. So keep in mind, when we're talking about resources, we're not just talking about food and litter box, scratching posts and things. We're also talking about quality time with you.
Yes. And let's get into the cat mind, because I know Casey loves me. I love Casey. And Casey does that kind of talk with me when we're cuddling. Cats do pick favorite humans, don't they?
They do. And it can be because you pay attention to the signals that Casey sends out. Maybe someone else in the family who isn't bonded with a particular cat might be that they're not paying attention to body language signals that the cat is saying, I don't want to be bothered right now, maybe later, or they're just suddenly coming up to the cat and picking the cat up without really asking consent. Mm-hmm. So if there is someone in the family who doesn't have the relationship with the cats that you'd like, it would be time to really look at whether they're paying attention and ignoring body language signals. Cats are masters at communication. It's just we're vocal and we stink at reading body language. Cats use so many, things, whether it's body language, vocalization, scent, and they're so good with body language if we would just pay attention.
They are multilinguist. I mean, I'm fumbling through Spanish learning it on Duolingo, but I can only imagine the cats in our household. They're maybe trilingual if you have a dog and people.
And the thing is, they're consistent.
There you
you
go.
know your cat. It's not like the cat is going to give you a totally unfamiliar body language signal that says, don't pet me right now, or I want to sleep. They're very consistent.
So give me a quick, come over here, human, or get the away from me, human.
Well, it can be flopping down, a cat who wants to play maybe flops down in front of you, and kind of just looks with that, hey, let's play, or the cat is rubbing up against you or doing tail twining. A cat who maybe doesn't want to be bothered is in a curled up ball sleeping position, all tucked in, is saying, I just want to keep my space right now. So your cat. Pay attention to what your cat is saying. So if every time you go to pet your cat, they bite you or scratch you or move away, it means, oh, I haven't been reading those body language signals very well.
We've got about a minute left. What's up for Pam Johnson Bennett? How can people find out more about you, where you're going? What's up next?
Well, you can always go to Facebook and Instagram. On Instagram, it's Think Like a Cat. And on Facebook, it's just Pam Johnson Bennett, or go to my website. I'm very active on social media. I'm very clumsy on social media. I'm not at all like smooth. When I see other people, how cool they are with all the videos and things they do, I don't do that. But I try to,
and that's what we need.
I just try to engage and be active. I love my followers. I love getting to know everybody. So that's the best place to find me.
And your company is called Cat Behavior Associates. Did I do that right?
Yes, catbehaviorAssociates.com is the website.
I was going to have to do kitty push-ups otherwise.
It's I don't know what I was thinking when I named it.
It's a great one. It says what it is. Hey, we've been speaking with Pam Johnson Bennett. She's helping us if you've got more than one cat or dog in a household and be able to keep it from turning into a kitty calamity. After we take this break, we're going to come back and our guest will be the pet lady. We're talking about that's you. We're talking about Dana Humphrey, and she's going to give us a scoop on some of the pet trends that are happening. So just stick around.
Thanks so much for making our tails wag by watching this guest interview from Arden Moore's Four-Legged Life. Four-Legged Life. Make sure to subscribe so you're up to date with all of our Four-Legged Life content. Four-Legged Life. Four-Legged Life.
Welcome back to the show, Pet Pals. I'm your host, Arden Moore. And I just got to let you know, yes, I am the host of this new show, Arden Moore's Four-Legged Life radio show. I'm so glad that we are able to air these. I'm so glad that we can air this show coast to coast to all of you. But I'm also a master certified pet first aid and CPR instructor. I've been teaching people for over a dozen years. I teach a veterinary approved pet first aid class. Are you ready for it? In person and via Zoom, live and interactive, to thousands of people all over the globe. My company is called Pet First Aid for You. That's the number 4 and the letter U. So what I'd like to do to help you all out is I want to take the time right now to share with you some ways that you can keep your cats and dogs safe and far, far away from some foods that are poisonous to them or just strictly not great for their bellies. So I'm going to talk about these biggies that are probably in your kitchen right now. Number 1, chocolate. Number 2, avocados. Number 3, grapes and raisins. Number 4, unbaked bread dough. And finally, peanut butter. But I'm talking about sugar-free peanut butter. So, you ready? Let's get schooled on how to keep your pet from getting poisoned. So let's start with the first one. I don't know about you, but many of us cannot resist a sweet food, chocolate. I'm betting right now many of you have a candy bar. I have candy bars, or you have a piece of chocolate cake or something with chocolate. I know you're aware of the dangers of your dog or cat eating chocolate, especially dark chocolate. But let's dive in a little bit deeper. It's because chocolate contains an ingredient known as theobromine. And depending on the size of your pet and the health of your pet and other factors, eating chocolate can make them very, very sick. Vomiting, diarrhea, and even worse. And the darker the chocolate, the worse the reaction. So let's be preventative. Let's keep those candy bars and other chocolate yummies out of paw's reach. Store them in the refrigerator, in a drawer, in the pantry. Never leave chocolate on the counter or on a coffee table because your curious pet will sniff it out and try to eat it. Now let's talk about avocados. Raise a paw if you love avocados. If you love avocado toast or maybe guacamole with chips, you may say yum, but your dog's stomach may say, uh-oh. The truth is avocados are not poisonous to dogs and cats, but they can definitely cause some serious tummy woes. The biggest danger, though, believe it or not, is the avocado pit. Why? Well, that pit looks just like a tempting ball to so many dogs who dig the sport of fetching. My terrier mix, Kona, loves fetching balls. I toss to her all the time, every day in our backyard. But the problem with the avocado pit is that it is slimy and large. And if a dog grabs the avocado pit, it could quickly seal the airway in the throat. And it's nearly impossible to try to reach your fingers in and grab that slimy, slippery pit with and pull it out. So in my pet first aid classes, I actually teach a maneuver in which you place your dog belly up and you place your thumbs and forefingers along the side of their jawbone, the underside, and you make a movement up quickly that actually releases the suction of the pit in the throat so that you can unstick it and grab it so your pet can breathe. All right, we're going to talk about grapes. The grapes of wrath when it comes to pets. Grapes are sweet, healthy treats for us two-leggers. Many of us like to eat them as a snack or maybe nibble on or maybe add them to a fruit salad. But the real skinny is this. Grapes are not good for our dogs or cats. Several years ago, I don't know what was happening, but people were freezing grapes and giving them to their dogs as treats. Yikes. Each grape is loaded with sugar, and sugar is definitely not a good ingredient for the physiology of our dogs or cats. Sugar can actually cause the kidneys to shut down in some dogs and cats. But there's also a second danger. That frozen grape is often just about the right size to close off an airway in some dogs. So do us all a favor. Please treat your dog or cat to a pet-safe, healthy treat while you munch on your fruit salad. All right, coming up next. This is a tip for all the bakers out there. Be aware. Baker's yeast and rising bread dough are not your pet's best friend. According to my pals at the Pet Poison Hotline, did you know that pet poisons involving these baking ingredients have soared more than 200% since 2020? Dough left on the counter unsupervised to rise can be quite tempting to our pets. Your pet, as you know, they have noses. They can smell things far better than we can. So baker's yeast and raw dough are very, very toxic to pets. When ingested, the dough can lead to stomach bloat and alcohol poisoning. When a dog or a cat eats that dough, the stomach acts like a warm oven, causing the dough to swell inside. It can cause in some dogs a nasty, life-threatening condition called bloat. Now, here's a chemistry lesson. Your pet can also die from alcohol poisoning because the raw rising dough releases carbon dioxide and ethanol. Not a good mix. And finally, let's talk about peanut butter. Now, many of us slather peanut butter in stuffed toys for our pets like Kongs or Topples. These stuffed treats are just yummy, and they keep our dogs busy and out of trouble when they're home alone. However, there is a rise in popularity of peanut butter that is sugar-free. That is welcome news for all the people out there that are watching their carbs or who are dealing with diabetes. But it's quite dangerous to our dogs. The reason? Xylitol. Yep, that word that starts with an X. Xylitol. That's Xylitol. It is an artificial sweetener. Xylitol's in mouthwashes, toothpaste, chewing gum, mints. We all know that. But now xylitol is showing up in a lot of foods, including peanut butter. Now, remember when I told you earlier that theobromine is pretty nasty in chocolate to our pets? Well, brace yourself. Xylitol is 100 times more dangerous when ingested by our pets than theobromine found in chocolate. Xylitol can cause vomiting and seizures and, yikes, liver failure. So please, please, please read the peanut butter jar label carefully. Make sure it does not contain xylitol. Make sure it does not contain xylitol. Your pet will thank you. Woo! We covered a lot of different foods. This is just a few of the foods, but I wanted you to be aware. And I hope that these food tips will bring out, I hope that these food tips will help you keep your four-legged friend happy and safe. And if any of you out there are interested in taking one of my pet first aid classes, I invite you to go to fourleggedlife.com and you'll see the page to my Pet First Aid for You program. I hope to see you all in class soon. Well, that's it for our show today. Thanks, Pet Pals, for tuning in. And I invite you to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Art and More. Hey, that's easy. It's on fourleggedlife.com. All my radio shows also air on YouTube. So until next time, this is your four-legged life host, Art and More, saying to all you 2, 3, and 4-leggers out there, pause up.